Welcome back. Today we are going to talk about the Ziigaat Nuo. So the Nuo is this guy right here. So they're calling it the Z Pulse series Nuo. So I assume there will be a different one. So nice black faceplate, smoke black back. Can't see the one dynamic driver LCP material. Can't really get a good look at it, but it is there. Nice nozzles. Nice build. It's pretty much what you would expect at about $20. 10 millimeter LCP, like I said. Cable is black, matching black, quite nice, about what you would expect at $20. So let's kind of jump into what is the most important things to know about this guy. So what is it? Again, it's a $20 Harmonish tweak style set with an upper treble boost to pull you in. So it's kind of an engaging thing, and we'll talk about it in a second, but is it general appealing? And that's sort of where I think the $20 sets tend to do well when they appeal to a very wide group of people. This one is kind of borderline, and well, you can kind of see it here. So bass-wise, there's nothing really going on. I think 02 has a little bit more bass and sub-bass, and that is in the blue. Ziigaat rolled it back a little bit right to the Harmon line, which is a good move. Both are mid-bass boosted. Both did a version of relaxed Harmon style pinna, and this is the real difference in why I say it's kind of borderline general appealing. Is Nuo really bumped out some of the upper treble upper treble area. Yeah, there's kind of a peakiness there and a brightness to it, which is going to either engage you and give you a high energy playback, or it's going to be a little bit fatiguing. So that's why I say it's kind of it can go either way, and we'll talk about both ways about right now. So Radiohead's Everything in its Right Place is a track I talked about on 02. So 02 really pulled back that 10K area, and it does nice playback of that track, but perhaps it's more correct than engaging, and you wouldn't really understand why people use it as a test track, because it sounds like everything else. It doesn't have that projection around your head and that immersive feeling that you get on other sets. Other sets like Wyvern Pro, so Celeste, Canary Celeste, Wyvern Pro, something I just reviewed, very much the middle ground between these two. So 02 pulled back the 10K, Pro gave it a little bit, put it back in, so you get more of that projection, that immersion, nice bass curve. But this is about where a $20 set should be. That's a very general appealing set, doesn't really offend anyone, and it does really nice playback. Nuo, again, this upper treble boost is what makes the track an experience. So this one gets really big. It has a really big soundstage, kind of an immersive feel to it. Exactly what was missing on 02. So engaging, projecting around your head, a bit over energetic, definitely yes. Lots of fun, yes. So, and I think this one is what I would call Ziigaat's Nuo. It's definitely a more fun version of the other two, and that fun may extend into too much fun. But, that's what it is. So another track, and sort of the opposite of where this works, is Rage Against the Machine's Killing the Name. So 02, this is really where you hear the advantage of 02's treble dip and that bass groove, right? A little bit extra bass. They dip the treble, and there's just more of a focus on the vocals. Upper treble remains below the vocals, and it just sounds clearer. Maybe not as fun, but probably a little bit more correct or a bit more clear. And Nuo does this a ton of energy, and it's going to get fatiguing, but it'll be a lot of high energy fun up until that point. There's just less of a focus on the vocals. It's shifted up in range with a bit less separation, more space, but that only gets you so far when everything is kind of amped up into the same area. So again, it's this little bit, that track tends to have a lot kind of before and after the vocals, so a lot of bass, and there's a lot of high energy upper treble things, so the vocals tend to fall back, whereas 02 pulled this back a little bit, and this kind of still remains in the forefront. Bass wise, there's not that much difference on that track in particular, but a lot of it comes back to how V-shaped sets do vocals, and when people talk about recessed vocals and the vocals falling behind the bass and the treble, that happens to be a little bit more on Nuo than it does on 02. But some people prefer that as a high-energy, fun style. So that's sort of both versions of that. I think there is a case for making that very fun, over-energetic style on Nuo. I think it actually works really well on that track. On this track, it's actually fine, but after a while, it is going to get up in you and get kind of fatiguing. So sound, again, this is another Harman 2019-ish with tweaks, and we'll come across more V-shape, like I said. Bass, I like that Harman level of SID bass transition to mid bass. Again, they brought this down a little bit right to the Harman level in the red. Mid bass boosted. I think they did that right on. It just sounds cleaner, especially with that relaxed upper, and Nuo pairs with a bit more upper treble. So the balance on this one actually works out a little bit better. So bring down the sub bass, it's coming a little cleaner in the background. Mid bass boosted, so you get your body. Relaxed treble, so these two kind of balanced correctly. And then they just have a lot of extra out here, which again is going to pair with a little bit more mid bass. So the balance on this one is actually pretty good. It's just there's a lot going on there, but if they had actually pulled back the bass a little bit, it would have been too lean and probably too bright. So mids, again, these are really good mids, like every other $20 set that we've talked about recently. But really pick the set that matches your library. If you like those soulful female vocals, that's probably going to be closer to 0-2. If you like high energy, you want to be moved by bass and guitars, that's probably closer to Nuo. That high energy engagement is something that Nuo does very well. Don't worry as much about which one resolves better. This one is really the one that matches your library or your mood at the time, which one you want to pick up. So treble, again, the lower is kind of like 0-2, so it avoids that shout. So they both kind of went below the Harman line. I think that was the right move. It's great, makes up for it in the later upper range. Like I said, they got this 10K-ish peak there, which is actually pretty intense. It's a lot of fun, but perhaps a little bit too much. And if you prefer a more natural level, it's not quite that. This is kind of more of a V-shape, intense level. Again, this isn't which is better, but which matches your preferences. And some people, like I said, some people are not even going to notice it because their tracks may kind of reside down here. This takes a certain track style or instruments that are actually going to hit this pretty hard to actually hear that intensity. Otherwise, it's going to sound, like a variation of most of the other Harman style $20 sets. So stage, like I said, this one does bigger stage, projection is good. What I like to hear in these nice dynamic drivers at $20, this is kind of does that projected stage, and it does it well because there's a whole lot of treble energy. But too much treble will flatten it, otherwise you will get depth too. So again, this is like every other set. But a little bit too much energy here, and it tends to flatten the stage. You don't get as much depth. But if you have tracks that don't have as much right in that area, it'll actually sound deeper. So that is what I got on Nuo. So again, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time.